Chapter 1991. The entire Heaven Imperial Court seemed to feel the impending storm and thunder. Originally from P. The reason why Heavenly Emperor Mo Yun sent out troops this time was obviously not purely to capture Chu Yang, but to establish his power. Meng Wuya's unexpected defeat caused Mo Yuntian's reputation to fall. The entire Mo Yuntian couldn't accept such humiliation. Therefore, Yuan Tianji must destroy Chu Yang with a thunderous force and establish Mo Yuntian's immortal reputation. The entire Heaven Imperial Court was shaken. Everyone, including the Lord Saint, focused their gazes on the south of the Misty River, in the direction of the Demon Emperor Heaven. However, it was also at this delicate moment that there was a sudden drastic change in the battle situation at Purple Cloud Heaven. The latest news came from there. After a long million years of recuperation, the extraterrestrial demons were about to give up on the small fights during this period of time and were preparing to send out troops with the intention of conquering a few more worlds to be used by the birthing demon. The entire Heaven Imperial Court was instantly tense. The unexpected arrival of this news seemed to have even surpassed the news of Mo Yuntian's aggressive attack. After Shui Leihan sent off the Lord Saint who came out of nowhere, he immediately rushed to Purple Cloud City. However, after he arrived, everything he saw and everything he heard made the East Emperor furious. "Bastard, what were you thinking? Why did you do things like this?" Looking at General Lan, Shui Leihan was furious, almost clenching his fists. General Lan had followed Shui Leihan for more than 1,000,000 years, but he had never seen the emperor so angry. Moreover, he was angry at himself. He was sweating profusely on the spot, drenching his clothes. The most important thing was that Great General Lan himself was still a little confused. "What did I do wrong? Why do I feel like I didn't do anything wrong? I asked you to stop Mo Yuntian's army, and this is how you did it." Shui Leihan's voice was cold. "I asked you to protect the East Royal Heaven, and you let Mo Yuntian trample on the rivers and mountains to protect it." General Lan's head touched the ground, not daring to answer at all. In the big tent, only the 3 generals kept quiet out of fear, trembling all over. The others had been chased out long ago. However, within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, it was suddenly filled with the aura of an emperor. The wind and clouds changed color, and the universe became miserable. Once the Shui Leihan Emperor got angry, it was enough to affect the aura of heaven and earth. Although he clearly knew that the matter was not as serious as the emperor said, Great General Lan still lowered his head and admitted his mistake. It was obvious that the emperor was furious. Would it be unwise to force an explanation? "Has Chu Yang already confirmed that he has entered the Demon Emperor's heaven?" Shui Leihan asked seriously. "Yes." Shui Leihan looked up at the sky, remaining silent for a long time. The air within a radius of 10,000 miles seemed to have completely condensed into a single piece in an instant. In the distant sky, countless experts who were flying in the air for some unknown reason suddenly found themselves frozen in the air. He couldn't fly forward, backward, or upward. He could not descend any further. Just a moment ago, it was still safe in the sky, but all of a sudden, even the space was completely frozen. Everyone was aghast. What was going on? After a long, long time, Shui Leihan finally exhaled. Forget it. The sealed space, which covered an area of no less than 10,000 miles, suddenly opened with a whoosh, like glass suddenly shattering. During this period, no matter who it was, as long as they were flying and frozen in the air, their bodies turned into dust at the same time. Not even a drop of blood was left. Great General Lan felt his back. His cold sweat had already formed a river, and his clothes were already drenched, dripping down along the corners of his clothes. Yuan Shitu is dead, and Yuan Tianji is going to kill Chu Yang? But if Chu Yang dies... Shui Leihan suddenly paused here, and only after a long time did he say slowly, "Then I will kill Yuan Tianji." Great General Lan's heart skipped a beat. Even his scalp was covered in cold sweat. At this moment, the cold sweat covered his head and even flowed into his eyes, making Great General Lan's eyes sour. He finally understood one thing. It was only now that he finally understood. This time, he was filled with regret. It turned out that all the measures taken by the emperor and all the orders given to him were for the sake of protecting that Chu Yang. This realization made Great General Lan scared out of his wit. It turned out that my understanding was wrong from the start, putting the cart before the horse. No wonder the emperor was so angry. If I had known this, why would I still care about Meng Wuya? I would have directly buried Meng Wuya and the 10,000 people here without caring about anything else. I was really smart all my life, but stupid for this moment. For one Chu Yang, the emperor actually planned to get rid of another heavenly emperor. What kind of person is this Chu Yang? Chu Yang. Shui Lian seemed to be explaining, or perhaps, he couldn't bear to see his loyal subordinate confused and in pain. Finally, he said softly, Chu Yang is my brother. He looked deeply at Great General Lan and said softly, my only brother, the only brother that I acknowledge. His voice was very calm, but when this calm voice landed in the ears of Great General Lan and the other two generals, it was tantamount to a shocking thunder. Everyone was dizzy, and their bodies swayed continuously. Great General Lan and the rest had long known that Chu Yang was Yang Rushan's brother. They had even complained about Yang Rushan behind his back. Why didn't he think about his own status, actually becoming sworn brothers with such a small character? Wasn't he afraid of lowering his own status? This Chu Yang was actually the emperor's brother? Oh my god! What kind of situation was this? Great General Lan even had the urge to slap himself. Why didn't I get closer to the people and get closer to Chu Yang back then? Shui Lian took a breath and said softly, if Chu Yang dies, then I'm afraid I won't be able to live for long. When he finished, Shui Lian flicked his sleeves and left. But Great General Lan couldn't take such a blow anymore. His body swayed twice, and he suddenly sat on the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. For a moment, his face was as white as paper. The consequences of Chu Yang's death were actually so serious. His life and death. It actually concerned the emperor's life and death. Was this possible? It was impossible. But why did the emperor say that? Oh my god. This sinner knows his mistake. This sinner will go to the demon emperor's heaven right now and bring Chu Yang back. I would rather die than let Chu Yang come back alive. Great General Lan roared, and jumped up. You're not allowed to go. Shui Lian had already walked out of the tent and shouted. The three of them were dumbstruck. Why? Since Chu Yang means so much to the emperor, why didn't he let us go and rescue him? There's no need to go. Shui Lian turned around slowly. If we were to go now, Chu Yang's previous 10,000 miles of escape would not be possible. It would become completely meaningless. The reason why he risked his life to escape from the Eastern Royal Heaven, other than to avoid a great enmity, is because I understand. He looked up at the sky and sighed. I understand. Demon Emperor Sky, Empress Palace. The Demon Empress was dressed in an indifferent white robe as she sat upright on the snow-white lotus flower in the center. The lotus slowly rotated on its own, and the hall was filled with an extremely peculiar spiritual energy. Suddenly, the white light in the hall flickered inexplicably. Then, the hall fell into an extreme darkness. Only bits of starlight lit up abruptly, like stars in a clear night. Heaven cover. It's actually heaven cover. The Demon Empress slowly opened her eyes, and a trace of heartfelt surprise flashed across her eyes. She looked at the hall that was originally her own. The illusory starry sky now. Heaven cover was an extremely special divine spirit secret technique. Only when the divine spirit of a ruler of another world was projected into another world would such a situation occur. At this moment, the projection returned to the void of the primordial chaos. I wonder who has the time to visit this old friend of mine. The Demon Empress' eyes flashed with sparkling white light. She said calmly, her voice incomparably beautiful, as if containing infinite friendship. In a boundless land of stars, a black-robed figure stood with his hands behind his back. He walked out slowly, standing in front of the Demon Empress. The person who came was tall and wore a simple golden crown on his head. He looked like he was only about 30 years old. His face looked as if it was carved by a knife or sword, and the outline of his face was completely distinct. His eyes were cold, as if completely devoid of any emotion. He walked out with his hands behind his back, like a high and mighty god walking in the mortal world, overlooking the mortal world. Although the person in front of her was only a divine spirit projection, everything about him was exactly the same as the real person on the other side. Only after reaching the level of DI could one have such a miraculous ability. Shin, we haven't seen each other for many years. Have you been well all these years? The black-robed man asked indifferently. The demon empress sat still and said indifferently, "You're not dead yet, and you're as healthy as before." "Of course, I'm well. Yuan Tianjie, why have you come here today? How dare you? How dare you rashly activate heaven cover? Aren't you afraid that I'll activate the restriction here and make your divine spirit projection stay here forever or even completely destroy it?" The black-robed man was the projection of the dark cloud heaven's emperor, Yuan Tianjie. Yuan Tianjie was slightly startled when he heard this. Then, he smiled and said in a gentler tone, "We haven't seen each other for many years. You don't have to scare me the moment you see me, do you? Aren't you afraid of scaring me away?" The demon empress said coldly, "You make it sound like we have some kind of friendship. Speak frankly, why have you come here?" Yuan Tianjie was silent for a moment. Then, he said, "Shin is as smart as ever. She wouldn't come here for no reason. Shin, I've come here to ask for a favor. I hope you'll agree." The demon empress slowly raised her head. Her tone suddenly became piercingly cold. "Yuan Tianjie, why don't you try calling me Shin again?" The hall was suddenly plunged into an extremely cold place. Yuan Tianjie smiled helplessly and waved his sleeves. "Fine, I won't call you that. I'll just take it that you like me calling you that. If you have something to say, then say it." The demon empress said coldly, "If you're done, then get out of my sight." The demon empress was very rude, but Yuan Tianjie wasn't angry at all. He still had a gentle smile on his face. Each of them was in charge of their own world. Each of them was the ruler of their own world. However, every time they stepped into someone else's world, it was equivalent to using their own world to suppress someone else's world. That was why they were called heaven suppressing. It was natural for the demon empress to be so rude. "My men have already split into 5 groups and entered the demon emperor heaven," Yuan Tianjie said indifferently. "This action has truly offended the demon empress' dignity. This emperor apologizes. I've come here to explain to you that my men's purpose in entering the demon emperor heaven is to capture someone called Chu Yang. It's definitely not to start a war with the demon emperor heaven. As long as they capture the person, my men will leave immediately and won't stay any longer. In order to make up for your losses, I'll compensate the demon empress with a mysterious heavenly pendant after this to express my sincerity." The demon empress frowned. Just as she was about to speak, Yuan Tianjie continued, "This person killed my son. Therefore, he must die." The demon empress fell silent. The enmity of killing. My men definitely won't dare to take the initiative to start a conflict with the people of the demon emperor heaven. Therefore, if there's really an accident, please be lenient." Yuan Tianjie lowered his posture and said softly, If the demon empress is willing to lend a hand, this Yuan promises to owe the demon empress a favor. This Yuan will definitely repay this favor in the future." The demon empress took a deep breath and said, "I know about this matter. I'll consider it carefully. Many thanks." Yuan Tianjie nodded and smiled. "In order to express my gratitude, if you have anything to do with this emperor's ink cloud sky in the future, I'll allow you 3 times. After he finished speaking, Yuan Tianjie's figure slowly walked back. The starry sky seemed to have suddenly shrunk and disappeared rapidly. Just as the last bit of starlight flickered and dissipated, Yuan Tianjie's figure also happened to step into it. The heaven-suppressing divine art's profoundness was actually so similar. It allowed Yuan Tianjie's divine soul projection to cross thousands of miles of space and appear in a foreign land like a real person to talk to the demon empress who was at the same level. The demon empress sat there without moving. She was silent, but there was a hint of doubt between her brows. Yuan Tianjie's son was actually killed by this Chu Yang. The demon empress had been in the palace all this time. She had already apologized and ignored the affairs of the world for many years. She actually didn't know about such a huge matter until now. As she thought about it, she suddenly smiled. This guy offended Yuan Tianjie. He's really unlucky. She was just thinking about how to help Yuan Tianjie. After all, the conditions that Yuan Tianjie promised this time were really very generous, and his attitude was so humble. Not only was the demon empress very moved, but she also felt very happy. Men. She was just about to shout these two words when suddenly, there was a flash of white light in front of her. Then, there was a moment of darkness. Then, in a dark place, the sparkling stars gradually lit up. Even with the demon empress cultivation, she almost wanted to swear at this moment. Heaven-suppressing divine art. It's actually heaven-suppressing divine art again. Could it be that I'm possessed today? It hasn't even been an hour, and my demon emperor's sky has actually been heaven-suppressing divine art twice. A few black lines appeared between the demon empress' brows. It was obvious that she was extremely angry. Do you really think I'm a soft persimmon? But, who is it this time? If it's still Yuan Tianjie, the demon empress was already prepared. Then, she would directly smash the projection with a punch. Who cares about your father's promise? The starlight flickered quietly, and a white shadow flashed. A person with his hands behind his back walked out of a desolate starry sky. His clothes were as white as snow, and he had a scholarly air. However, he had a natural aura of dominating heaven and earth. Chapter 1992. It was actually the Lord of the Eastern Royal Heaven, Shui Leihan. Donghuang's projection descended upon the Demon Empress Palace. The Demon Empress widened her eyes. Xin, it's been many years since we last met. Have you been well all these years? The man in white asked with a smile. The Demon Empress' lips twitched. This bunch of bastards, the first thing they said when they met was still the same? The first thing they said to Yuan Tianjie was not wrong at all. Could it be that they had discussed this beforehand? The Demon Empress sat still and said lightly, "You're still alive and well." "Of course, I'm well. Shui Leihan, what are you doing here? How dare you? You actually dared to activate heaven? Aren't you afraid that I'll activate the restriction and shatter your divine soul projection and make it stay here forever? Or even completely shatter it?" The Demon Empress actually repeated what she said to Yuan Tianjie to Shui Leihan, wanting to see how Donghuang would respond. The only difference in the whole sentence was that the words Yuan Tianjie in the original sentence were changed to Shui Leihan. At this moment, even though the Demon Empress was furious, she felt even more amused. That man in white was of course the Heavenly Emperor of the Eastern Royal Heaven, Shui Leihan. Shui Leihan was slightly startled when he heard this. Then, he smiled and said gently, "We haven't met for so many years. You don't have to scare me like this the moment we meet, do you? Aren't you afraid of scaring me away?" The Demon Empress had goosebumps all over her body. His entire face was filled with black lines, and it instantly surged up. This sentence was exactly the same as Yuan Tianjie's reaction and reply. Even the tone and expression were exactly the same. Did she really see a ghost? Or did the two of them discuss this beforehand and come to tease me? The Demon Empress was furious. Her face immediately darkened. She frowned and said coldly, "Shui Leihan, did the two of you discuss this beforehand? I originally thought that the two of you wouldn't be so bored. But the reality before my eyes tells me that the two of you are really in cahoots." Shui Leihan couldn't help but be stunned. He asked subconsciously, "The two of us? Who is the other person that Xin is talking about? Are you still going to pretend?" The Demon Empress said angrily, "The two of you didn't even miss a single word." The more she spoke, the angrier she became. Could it be that this Empress is so easy to tease in your eyes? Does teasing this Empress give you a sense of accomplishment? Die Empress. Although the Emperor is in front, it doesn't mean that this Empress is inferior to you. Shui Leihan was truly at a loss. "Xin, what are you talking about? Don't tell me you're mistaken." The Demon Empress snorted and said, Fine. I won't argue with you anymore. You're lowering this Empress status. Let me ask you, did you come to this Empress place because you have something to ask of me?" Shui Leihan laughed heartily. "Not bad, Xin is indeed as intelligent as ever. I wouldn't have come here for no reason." Before Jiangyi could finish, the Demon Empress finally couldn't hold it in anymore and completely exploded. You still dare to say that you didn't collude? Even this sentence was the same. Can't you at least change your words a little? Do you have to be so ruthless? Each and every one of you is like this. Just the two of you have the nerve to call yourselves celestial emperors of a region. Pooh. Although she was furious, she didn't object to Xue Leihan calling her Xin. Xue Leihan suddenly quietened down. He said slowly, the other person that Xin is talking about is another celestial emperor. Is it Yuan Tianjie? The demon empress was furious. Who else could it be? Why are you pretending? Do you think you can still get away with it? Xue Leihan's face darkened. He said, he came to you to ask you to help him capture Chu Yang. The demon empress said, that's right. It was indeed discussed beforehand. You're finally not hiding it anymore. Xue Leihan took 2 steps and suddenly raised his head. With a frosty face, he said coldly, you agreed. The demon empress could clearly feel that with these words, Xue Leihan's aura became stronger and stronger. There was actually a faint murderous aura that gradually grew. The domineering aura was no longer concealed at all. The demon empress finally realized that something was wrong. She couldn't help but frown. She said, so what if I agreed? So what if I didn't agree? Do I have to consult your Majesty East Sovereign's wishes for my decision? Xue Leihan said indifferently, how would I dare to interfere with the demon empress's decision? It's just that I came to you for this matter. I believe that your purpose isn't to kill Chu Yang. How can you mobilize 2 celestial emperors for a mere junior? Since it's not to kill, then you want to protect Chu Yang? The demon empress said sensitively. Even though the demon empress' mind was slightly hazy due to a moment of anger, she had already regained her wisdom and instantly understood the mystery behind it. I do have such intentions, but it's not just that. Xue Leihan's eyes focused. My purpose here is not so simple. I came specifically to tell you not to interfere in this matter. Tell me. The demon empress laughed. What right do you have to tell me? Xue Leihan, His Majesty East Sovereign, don't think that you're really the boss of this group just because Die Empress is your leader. You, Xue Leihan, are not qualified to warn me. The demon empress was furious. Once we talk about this matter, you actually call me demon empress, and you don't even call me Xin. Xue Leihan said indifferently, whether I'm qualified or not, what's the use of talking? You'll naturally have a lot of opportunities to know this. But I'll still tell you, even if you don't help Yuan Tianming this time, Yuan Tianming won't do anything. After all, he has so many children. I believe that he won't really go to war with other worlds for a child, especially when he has to face a celestial emperor of the same level. The demon empress suddenly felt a sudden pressure. She said involuntarily, will you? You must know that Yuan Tianming is facing a murderous enemy. It's perfectly justified for him to take revenge. What is right and proper means nothing to me. I'll only tell you that this Chu Yang is my brother. Xue Leihan said indifferently, others may not know, but you should know what I can do for my brother. Brother. The demon empress' heart trembled violently. Yes, others may not know, but as a descendant of the first emperor, she knew very well. Back then, the Purple Cloud Heavenly Emperor was the East Emperor's brother. After the Purple Cloud Heavenly Emperor Zhao died in battle, Xue Leihan charged into the extreme heaven in anger. He went to seek an explanation from the saint. In the end, the matter escalated into a big fight with the saint. After that, although Xue Leihan was defeated and retreated, he also established supreme authority between the first emperor and the empress. No one had ever dared to really fight with the saint. Only Xue Leihan had the guts and managed to escape unscathed in the end. For his brother, he dared to fight with the saint. If she really killed his brother, what would the result be? She didn't even have to do it personally. As long as she interfered in this matter, it would be equivalent to indirectly causing the death of his brother. This feud would really be huge. If Chu Yang dies in the Demon Emperor Heaven, our 2 worlds will go to war. Xue Leihan looked at the Demon Empress sharply. He said indifferently, I'm definitely not scaring you. You think you can scare me? The Demon Empress was furious. Xue Leihan said stiffly, that's why I said I'm not scaring you. When the time comes, not only will I go to war with you, but I'll also go to war with Mo Yun Tian. I, the East Emperor, hereby swear to the heavens. The day Chu Yang dies will be the beginning of a great calamity for the three world. Xue Leihan slowly retreated into the starry sky. Let's see if I can completely destroy the three world. Xue Leihan. The demon empress screamed, exasperated. Stop right there. But Xue Leihan had already taken the last step. The starry sky instantly shrank and disappeared. Bang! The demon empress slammed her palm on the table in front of her, instantly smashing it into pieces. She roared furiously, "Bastard! Big bastard! Xue Leihan, you bastard to the extreme, motherfucker, to actually casually place such a hot potato in this empress demon emperor sky. He obviously doesn't want me to have an easy time. Donghuang Xue Leihan, Moyun Yuan Tianji, I'll remember the two of you." The demon empress was still furious. Everything in the main hall was smashed into pieces. "Xue Leihan, you bastard. You're obviously threatening me." The demon empress hadn't lost her temper like this for almost hundreds of thousands of years. But this time, she was indeed mad with anger, almost losing control. Within a day, she was overshadowed twice by two celestial emperors. Wasn't this sullen enough? If that was all, it was still fine. But that damned Donghuang Xue Leihan actually threw down an oath to threaten her. This was blatant contempt, blatant blasphemy, blatant coercion. "Must I listen to a bastard like you?" The demon empress roared. "I'm going all out with you to help Yuan Tianji. I want to kill your brother. Let's see what you can do to me. I'm so angry, so angry. Guards!" The demon empress yelled. Her voice shook the entire demon empress palace. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 3 people rushed in. Seeing the once magnificent hall suddenly become a mess, all of them were dumbfounded. What was going on? Was there an attack from outside? But, even though it was a mess, why weren't there any traces of fighting? The demon empress' face was full of murderous intent. She waved her hand and shouted, "Pass down my order." The 3 of them stood up straight at the same time. The demon empress hadn't been so stern in many years. It seemed like something big was about to happen. The demon empress was only halfway through her sentence when the meaning of her words suddenly changed. "Pass down my order. Clean up the hall." Then, she sighed. Sigh. The 3 of them fainted at the same time. "Oh my God, Your Majesty. Your Majesty, you're too. You called the 3 of us in with such great fanfare and gave us such a serious order, just to clean up the hall?" The demon empress sighed deeply for a while. She really couldn't explain it to outsiders. She was very clear that Xue Leihan was definitely not joking. He could totally do it, and he even dared to do so. If Xue Leihan really went crazy, he would definitely be able to destroy both worlds at the same time. Chapter 1993. Although she was extremely displeased, the demon empress didn't dare to risk the entire demon emperor's heaven. Donghuang Xue Leihan had the guts and boldness. Although she was extremely displeased, the demon empress didn't dare to risk the entire demon emperor's heaven. Donghuang Xue Leihan had the guts and boldness, but the demon empress had more to worry about. Sigh, the situation is more important than the person. Even if I offend Yuan Tianjie, it's still better than offending Xue Leihan. The demon empress pondered gloomily. Anyway, that guy Yuan Tianjie can't defeat me. Besides, Yuan Tianjie's behavior is indeed very detestable. That guy Xue Leihan, although he's also very detestable, he still has some redeeming qualities. No matter what, he's still considered mine. As she thought about it, the demon empress' fair face actually turned red. Then, she flew into a rage. That bastard. So many years have passed, but he doesn't know how to restrain himself. He even threatened me when he asked for help. And he even threatened me. How despicable. But that Chu Yang, who exactly is he? The demon empress' anger gradually subsided, and she began to think. This little one is not simple. Not only did he kill the son of Heavenly Emperor Ink Cloud, but is also the sworn brother of Heavenly Emperor East Royal. Speaking of this, a burst of anger rushed up again. That bastard Xue Leihan, you only know how to worry about your brother. Why don't you just come and take him away yourself? Why do you still leave him here? Why do you leave this scourge in my demon emperor's heaven? Then, she ordered, come, call the Grand Empress back. Someone came up and reported in fear, Grand Empress is in Luohua City. How can I not know that he's in Luohua City? The demon empress shouted angrily, I said to get him back here as soon as possible. I don't care where he is. Go and do it quickly, yes. The three of them quickly cleaned up the mess in the main hall and retreated with cold sweat all over their heads. They really didn't know who had provoked the demon empress today to make her so furious. Then, the three of them were shocked. Because they clearly felt that the demon empress' divine sense aura suddenly spread out and covered the sky and the earth. For a moment, everything within tens of thousands of miles was under the surveillance of the demon empress' divine sense. And it didn't disperse for a long time. The demon empress' actions seemed to be searching for something. The entire divine sense search process actually lasted for an entire hour. 1 hour later, the demon empress finally sighed and said, I can't find it. When that little bastard comes back, let him go straight to Chuyang. She also wanted that stinky primary school student to learn her skills, so that he wouldn't have to follow her around every day and not even get half a good look from her. What a fucking coward. The demon empress spat out a mouthful of saliva and said, despicable. This little bastard was just as despicable as his father back then. Other than pestering her relentlessly, he didn't have any other tricks up his sleeve. How despicable. I can't stand it anymore. A table. White jade table. Wu Jueqing sensitively sensed it. The white jade table in front of him didn't have the slightest bit of impurities. It was sparkling and translucent. With a single glance, one could even see through the white jade table and see the ground below. Even an ordinary person would be able to see it. On the table, there were only 4 wine cups. Wu Jueqing sat at the head of the table. Looking at the huge table, he was speechless for a long time. 3 burly men sat at the head of the table. One was arranging the wine, one was serving the dishes, and one was cooking. Each of them had their own duties. Everyone's eyes were red and swollen. Everyone seemed to have thousands of words to say. But when the words reached their mouths, they couldn't even say a single word. Shimon Wanli, who had always been the most proficient in cooking, had put the soy sauce and vinegar in the wrong way for the first time. He hurriedly tried to adjust it, but to no avail. He had no choice but to throw away all the dishes and start over again. But this time, when he was cooking, drops of tears fell into the iron pot just like that. With a sizzling sound, the tears had already turned into a puff of smoke and dissipated. Second brother, these years, have you been well? Jun Veiling took a deep breath. Her face was contorted. She tried her best to control her voice so that it wouldn't tremble. But as she spoke, even though it was just a few short words, her voice still started to tremble unknowingly. Wu Jueqing shut his eyes tightly. He felt the churning emotions in his heart twisting and turning several times. An indescribable feeling of bitterness welled up in his heart. With a hoarse voice, he said, I've been well. How have you guys been? The brothers were all speechless. In the kitchen, a sizzling sound could be heard. It wasn't clear whether it was Shimon Wanli's tears or the oil, salt, and vinegar in his hands that had caused this sound. Under the light, everyone's expression looked as if they were about to cry. But they were all trying their best to hold it in. Every one of them was smiling. Even though their smiles were uglier than crying, they still forced themselves to smile. Hoo hoo hoo. Another man's face was contorted as he forced a smile. Second brother, are the heavenly layer doing well? Wu Jueqing trembled. With a trembling voice, he said, the heavenly layer is still the heavenly layer. Not bad. Seventh brother Yang, you can rest assured now. That seventh brother Yang seemed to heave a sigh of relief. But he also seemed to be a little disappointed as he lowered his head dejectedly. This seventh brother Yang was the seventh brother of Wu Jueqing's generation, Yang Huanmeng. His dejection at this moment seemed to be because there was a question in his heart that had yet to be answered. Jun Veiling, who was keeping them company at the side, took a deep breath and finally said, Second brother, is that person doing well? The moment this sentence came out, Yang Huanmeng, who had his head lowered, instantly held his breath. Shimon Wanli, who was playing the symphony of pots and pans, also stopped all his actions. The whole room fell silent. The few of them were waiting quietly for Wu Juecheng's answer. This moment was short yet long. It was obviously just a short moment of waiting for a sentence. But in the hearts of these people, it felt as long as hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. Wu Juecheng only felt a sharp pain in his heart. He said hoarsely, "That person, who is that person you are talking about? I don't understand." The three of them stopped what they were doing at the same time. They stared at Wu Juecheng, all of them speechless. Then, the three of them lowered their heads. But the silence in the room disappeared. Because in the kitchen, the sound of cooking rang out again. After a long time, all kinds of dishes were served on the table. Shimon Wanli also finally put down the pots and pans in his hands and sat at the table. He washed his hands, but Wu Juecheng clearly noticed that Shimon Wanli seemed to have washed his face as well. The corners of his eyes also seemed to be showing signs of redness. Wu Juecheng sighed in his heart. Suddenly, he felt as if he was already drunk before drinking. Steam rose. Wine, it was good wine. This wine. It's called Hero's Blood. Unveils took the lead and raised her cup. Second brother, this is a strong wine that was brewed after the heavenly emperor of purple clouds fought against the heavenly demons. Hero's blood. Just a sip and you will feel as if the hero's blood is surging endlessly in your body. Second brother, please drink. Unveils raised her cup high. Second brother, please drink. Yang Huanming and Shimon Wanli raised their cups at the same time. Hero's blood. I've heard so much about this wine. Hee hee. Wu Juecheng laughed coldly and said, "It's just that, are the few of you considered heroes? Are you worthy of drinking this hero's blood?" This sudden sentence was like a ball of ice thrown into a blazing fire. For a moment, the room fell silent again. A deathly silence. But Wu Juecheng still seemed unsatisfied. He suddenly stood up, raised his cup with one hand and slammed it on the ground. He shouted, "Why aren't you speaking? Tell me, what kind of heroes are you? Ask yourselves, are you worthy of drinking this hero's blood? Answer me." The three of them were stunned at the same time. Wu Juecheng still felt unsatisfied. He stared coldly at the three of them and suddenly laughed. But his laughter was full of contempt and mockery. "When I saw this table, I understood. In the past, when we drank in the heavenly layer, even if there were only two of us eating together, or even if there were only one of us, as long as the conditions allowed, we would ask for a table for 10 people. Everyone, 1 seat each." Wu Juecheng said angrily, "Why is there only 1 seat around this table? Tell me why. Who are you missing? Or rather, who did you abandon?" Wu Juecheng's voice was hoarse. "Who did you abandon?" The three of them fell silent at the same time, not saying a word for a long time. Their faces were as dark as water. The sound of Wu Juecheng's panting reverberated in the air. Suddenly, he raised his leg and kicked the table and all the dishes on it away. He shouted, "Tell me, what is your cultivation level now?" Then, Wu Juecheng sat down with a whoosh and asked angrily, "Tell me, I want to see how far away I am from you. Have I become a frog at the bottom of a well, or a lowly ant?" The moment Wu Juecheng sat down, the three of them stood up at the same time. Just like back then, when they were receiving second brother's lectures and guidance, they were no different. "Second brother, I am now a saint." Unveils stood up straight and said. "Second brother, I am now a saint." Shimon Wanli also stood up straight. "Me too." Yang Huanming said in a muffled voice. "How awesome, you are all second-grade saints." Wu Juecheng laughed bitterly. "I am now only at the peak of the heaven stage. Compared to the three of you, I am really far away. Even I feel ashamed. Looks like the current me is really just an ant in front of the three of you. Why don't the three of you just change this seat to 8? Wu Juecheng laughed mockingly. "The gap between us is already so big. Even if you don't say it, I don't have the face to be your second brother anymore. 3 saints, if you don't remove my seat, aren't you afraid of embarrassing yourself?" "Second brother." The three of them flushed red. "What are you saying? Even if we die, We will never dare to betray second brother. Second brother will always be second brother. Even if we are now the Emperor's Empress or Saint Lord, this will still not change. All these years, as long as we drink, the top seat will always be yours, second brother. None of us dare to overstep. This will never change. As long as one of us is still alive, this will always be the case. It's extremely painful. If I say that I am about to die of exhaustion, would you believe me? I originally wanted to take leave today. But Xiao Dai told me that if you take leave right after getting the monthly votes, wouldn't it be too? Chapter 1994. Tears welled up in Jun Weiling's eyes. Second brother. Even if all of us have become peak-level saints or something even higher, you are still our second brother. Forever. Whoever dares to disrespect you, we'll kill him together. Wu Jueqing said coldly, so I still have some status in your hearts. Then, what about Big Brother? What do you take him for? The three of them fell into silence at the same time and were speechless for a long time. Who was Big Brother? The Calamity Sword Master. The previous Calamity Sword Master. The Calamity Sword Master of their era. Wu Jueqing stood up slowly and said calmly, stepping on the heavens, pointing his sword to the east of the cloud. Who still remembers the name Yundong? Does anyone? The three of them were still like statues, not saying a word. But their breathing became heavy and hurried in an instant. Looks like all of you don't remember. That's great. Wu Jueqing laughed mockingly. Or maybe all of you only remember the last moment when you were betrayed by Big Brother. Nourishing the heavens. Yet you don't remember Big Brother's support from the beginning? Second brother, don't say any more. Jun Weiling suddenly reached out a hand. Second brother, what's the point of saying all this now? Jun Weiling said painfully, stepping on the heavens, pointing his sword to the east of the cloud. We all remember, how can we forget for a moment? But, when we were betrayed back then, that heart-wrenching pain. Ha ha ha. Wu Jueqing looked up and laughed. All of you are in pain? All of you are in pain? Ha ha ha, all of you are in pain? You actually said that you are in pain? Ha 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 ha. Are you in pain? Are you really in pain? All the pain that you have endured, all the pain, are just illusions, illusions that you think you are infallible. Can your insignificant pain compare to the pain that Big Brother endured? Wu Jueqing's tears flowed freely. His fingers trembled. All of you are a bunch of heartless things. Heartless. Heartless. All of you have no conscience, none at all. Wu Jueqing roared. Suddenly, he laughed bitterly. That's true, all of you are already saints now. That's awesome. There's no need to remember the Calamity Sword Master. There's no need to remember friendship. Ha ha ha. Jun Weiling and the other two's faces turned red. They stood up angrily. Nonsense. You're talking nonsense. Second brother, we respect you as second brother, but you can't distort the truth like this. We brothers have been suffering for tens of thousands of years. Although the past was unbearable to look back on, which night did she not cry when she dreamed of it? Do you know all of this? What right do you have to criticize us like this? During these tens of thousands of years, no one even dared to make new friends. This pain. Do you understand? Do you understand? Do you understand? Jun Weiling roared, answer me. Do you understand? Do you really understand? I understand. Why don't I understand? Do you think I haven't? Wu Jueqing roared loudly. The eyes of Jun Weiling and the other two lit up. That's right. How could second brother not have experienced the pain that they had experienced? In fact, they had many brothers by their side. As for second brother, but he was all alone in the heavenly layer, his hometown that he couldn't bear to look back at. What did the three of them do just now? They actually yelled at their second brother who they had not seen for a long time. They really deserved to die. Wu Jueqing sat down sadly and said in a low voice, "Three saints, don't look at me with those eyes that say you know how I feel. I don't need your sympathy. You don't deserve it. You don't have the right. I am Wu Jueqing, a small ant that just ascended to the heavenly layer. Today, I will tell you a story. Ha ha ha. If the three saints are still in the mood to listen, then listen. If you don't, I, Wu Jueqing, will pretend that I never came. Wu Jueqing's voice was extremely bleak. His heart was hurt, his body was hurt, and his emotions were gone. Second brother, Shimon wanly cried out. Second brother, no matter what you say, we will listen. Yes, second brother, we are all listening. The three of them teared up at the same time. Second brother, please don't mention the word saint anymore. We are still the original us, second brother's brothers. Wu Jueqing felt slightly comforted. He said slowly, all right. I won't mention saint anymore. Let me tell you. Ha ha ha. Back then, there was an accident. With the help of my ancestors, I was lucky enough to escape. My only thought was to take revenge on that person. Wu Jueqing's expression was melancholic. I planned to kill all the Calamity Sword Masters to avenge my brothers. The three of them clenched their fists when they heard this. What second brother wanted to do was also what these brothers wanted to do but couldn't do. It was only until I met the Dharma Supreme that I realized that the Dharma Supreme was actually another generation of tribulation after us, the brains of tribulation. Diwu Cho-chang. He was also another survivor like me, Wu Jueqing said slowly. So, I started. Later, I finally met a tribulation sword master. It was him who solved all the hatred and mysteries in my heart for me. Wu Jueqing bit his lip hard and said painfully, we were all wrong. We were so wrong that we couldn't be saved. What happened back then? Wu Jueqing cried as he recounted. Our boss was like this, gone. Wu Jueqing's eyes were brimming with tears. He murmured, standing on the firmament, pointing his sword at Bai Yundong, who dared to hurt my brothers? Jun Veiling and the other two who were listening to all this were stunned. Until they heard that sentence. Using my body to open the path of reincarnation, opening the door to the outer realm, bones as the wall, flesh as the road, blood as the wind, soul as the sky, sending my brothers to the outer realm to fight the extraterrestrial demons, nurturing my brothers to reconstruct their bodies and become immortal, fulfilling my brothers' wishes, becoming immortal in the outer realm, letting my brothers enjoy the glory of heaven and earth, receiving the highest honor. The three of them were suddenly stunned at the same time. The next moment, the three of them stood up at the same time. Jun Veiling shouted angrily, second brother, is what you said true? You're not lying to us. His voice was loud at first, but towards the end, it started to tremble. Wu Jueqing wouldn't joke about such a serious matter. Although Jun Veiling knew this, he still couldn't help but ask. Before Wu Jueqing could answer, he already had an answer in his heart. Wu Jueqing closed his eyes sadly and said heavily, I'm lying to you. Is there a need? Is there a need to lie about this? Instantly, the three of them were stunned like wooden chickens, as if they were made of clay. If not for the fact that this is the truth and can't be erased, I wouldn't want to believe it either. Before my heart confirms this matter, how is it different from yours? Wu Jueqing said painfully, it's a pity that this is the truth. This is the reality, and I have the responsibility to tell you this truth. Our misconceptions have been going on for far too long. We've let boss down too much. The three of them stood there in a daze. For a long time, no one moved at all. Only their faces had turned ghastly pale. Their majestic bodies that were as immovable as mountains also started to tremble slightly at this moment. Actually, it's not just our boss. In fact, all the previous Tribulation's sword masters before us were the same. If the Tribulation's sword master really betrayed all his brothers just to fulfill his own wish, with their cultivation at that time, it wouldn't be difficult for them to live for tens of thousands of years. But why didn't we see any of them? One or two of them can be said to have met with an accident. I believe you also know that in the past 100,000 years, all the previous Tribulation's sword masters were the same. Actually, the truth of the matter has long been in front of us. But no matter if it's you or me, we've all turned a blind eye to it and never realized it. It's because everyone thinks too highly of themselves. When they're betrayed and hurt, the first thing they do is to resent and be angry. They never think about the reason. It's better if only one person is angry, but when everyone is angry about the same thing, it becomes the truth. It becomes deeper and deeper, more and more hateful. Wu Jueqing said in a hoarse voice, but, think about it calmly. Are you that important? Do you care so much about yourself? Then, what about our boss? The ones who should really feel sad should never be us. It should be the previous tribulation's sword masters. They gave up everything for their brothers, but in the end, all they got in return was resentment and eternal infamy. Also, do you know why you haven't met any descendants of the tribulation's sword masters? Wu Jueqing said in surprise, the reason is actually very simple. After the tribulation's sword masters sent their brothers away, they themselves died. As for their descendants, hey, the history books have always been written by the victors. This is a very reasonable saying. But, when it falls on the betrayer and the betrayed, it's a tragedy. Human nature can betray their friends in front of great benefits. Perhaps the truth has long been completely destroyed by those victors. Our boss is dead, so there's nothing left to say. Then, everything will be said by us. How we say it, how will the world listen? Ha ha ha. How laughable. How laughable. How laughable. So we're the victors. Such victors. Wu Jueqing's words were like knives. The three of them lowered their heads in shame. I only know the story of a descendant of the tribulation's sword master. The only girl who survived was surnamed Jun. Later on, after the disappearance of the tribulation's sword master, her family was ambushed and assassinated by the descendants of the tribulation's sword masters until they were destroyed. Wu Jueqing was talking about Jun Shiju's story. He didn't know that Jun Shiju wasn't the direct descendant of the tribulation's swordmaster, but he said it out loud now. The three of them turned pale. They couldn't stand steadily anymore and sat down dejectedly. With a poof, they sat heavily on the chairs. Chapter 1995. The three saint-level experts would lose their balance and fall to the ground due to some unknown reason. No one with any common sense in martial arts would agree with this fact. But such a ridiculous thing happened just like that. Hee hee. While you're gnashing your teeth at the boss, your descendants are hunting down the boss descendants. They're so filial, they've fulfilled your wishes, Wu Jueqing sneered. For our sake, boss had even sacrificed his life and soul. Now that he's dead, even his soul is gone. There's no future for him, and he's going to have to bear the infamy of eternity. Yet all of you are still sitting here drinking wine, perfectly fine. Even boss's seat has been taken away. All of you have really taken your revenge too thoroughly. The three of them were trembling all over. Baidu search ACOM, Tribulation's love moves heaven and earth. Moves heaven and earth. Pooh. Hee hee, hee hee, hee hee. Wu Jueqing sneered. His laughter was full of mockery and ridicule. But as he sneered, his tears finally fell uncontrollably. Is there really such a thing? Jun Weiling's voice trembled. Suddenly, he roared, even if there is such a thing, how did you know? What you've said are just conjectures. What evidence do you have? You actually want to get evidence from me? Are you really that considerate? There are so many facts in front of us and you still want evidence. Unfortunately, I really don't have any evidence. Other than what I saw, everything else was told to me by the current tribulation swordmaster. Wu Jueqing said lightly, he should be the last tribulation swordmaster. And this tribulation swordmaster is the one you were talking about just now, the one who killed Heavenly Emperor Mo Yun's son. I entered the Heavenly Imperial Court with him. At the same time, his brothers came up too. His brothers. Wu Jueqing's voice was full of envy. This tribulation swordmaster surpassed the limits of all the previous tribulation swordmasters and ascended with his brothers. At that time, more than 10 golden bridges fell at the same time. The tribulation swordmaster and his brothers ascended at the same time. That scene, I stood on another bridge and watched in a daze. My heart was full of envy. The brothers were of one mind and never doubted, but us. Second brother. You. Don't say any more. You don't want to say? Why not? Do you think I want to tell you? Do you think I'm talking to you today? Are you worthy? I just don't want boss's heroic soul to pass away. You also have to bear a bad reputation. Zhun Weiling and Yang Huanmeng listened to him in a daze. Then, they suddenly cried out in grief. They completely lost control of their bodies, and started to cry bitterly. He covered his face with his hands. Tears flowed freely through the gaps between her fingers. Shimon wanly let out a long sigh, one after another. As he sighed, tears streamed down his face. The person whom he had hated for tens of thousands of years was actually the one who owed him the most. However, he had hated his big brother, his benefactor, the person who had sacrificed everything for him, for tens of thousands of years. For tens of thousands of years. How comical was this? What a joke. What kind of ingratitude was this? Also, if the bloodline of his eldest brother's descendants really ended in the hands of his descendants, do I still have the face to live in this world? Second brother is right. Am I worthy? Am I worthy to be called brothers? After a period of silent sobbing, Shimon wanly said, "Step on the firmament. Soared to the east of the clouds. Who dares to hurt my brother?" Suddenly, everyone was shaken from the bottom of their hearts. They had heard this sentence before. It was Boss who said it. But there had never been a moment like this before. When they heard this sentence, they were as shocked as a sudden clap of thunder. It was like a heart that had been cold for tens of thousands of years, at the moment when it heard these words. Suddenly, it became boiling hot. "Boss! Boss!" Jun Wei Ling screamed. She laid on the ground and pounded her fists on the ground. She cried bitterly, unable to speak. Wu Juecheng's words were like the sharpest needle that pierced deeply into her heart when she thought about it now. The three of them were in so much pain that their hearts convulsed. They almost couldn't breathe. The pain pierced through their hearts. Hee. While you were gnashing your teeth and resenting Boss, your descendants were hunting down Boss descendants. They were so filial and fulfilled your wishes. Boss even sacrificed his life and soul for us. Now that he's dead, his soul is gone, and he can't have any descendants. He even has to bear the infamy of eternity. Yet, you guys are still sitting here drinking wine, and Boss' seat is gone. Your revenge is too thorough. I can't help but admire you. I admire you so much that I want to prostrate myself before you. I can't help but admire you. The more they thought about it, the more regretful they felt. They felt that even if they really died now, it would be too late by tens of thousands of years. Yang Huanmeng sat in a daze with her eyes wide open. It was as if she was an ownerless shell without life and soul. After a long time, a gurgling sound came from her throat. A mouthful of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth and dripped down. She suddenly opened her bloody mouth and cried loudly. "Boss, I'm sorry. I've been scolding you all these years. I'm not human, I'm a beast, a heartless beast. I want to go back. I want to go back now. I want to kill that bunch of bastards." Jun Wei Ling's eyes were red and murderous. They actually dared to lay their hands on Boss descendant. Are those bastards still my grandchildren? You don't have to do it. Wu Juecheng smiled bitterly. Karma is a cycle of justice. Our clans have long disappeared in the wind. We don't know who destroyed them. Perhaps it was the new master of Calamity Sword, or perhaps it was them who had been blinded by their own interests. Jun Wei Ling was stunned. Then, he shouted, "Good job! Good job!" When they heard that the clans built by their descendants had been destroyed, they naturally felt inexplicably sad. However, this was something that had happened tens of thousands of years ago. Most importantly, when they thought of their wrong thoughts all these years, when they thought of the possibility that their Boss descendants were all killed by their own descendants, they were in so much pain that they wished they were dead. They didn't want to think about it anymore. More than that, they didn't dare to think about it anymore. Tears flowed down Wu Juecheng's face. When he first heard about it from Chu Yang, Wu Juecheng was already agitated once. But this time, facing his brothers who had gone through the same thing, he couldn't hide the regret and sorrow in his heart anymore. He cried bitterly. At the same time, countless questions were answered by Wu Juecheng one by one. Why did our boss have to make such a sacrifice? Why doesn't this master of Calamity Sword have to do that now? Why? Why is it so unfair to our boss? Wu Juecheng sobbed and answered these questions one by one. The three of them couldn't stop crying. It turned out that the Calamity Sword in the Master of Calamity Sword had its own history and mission. Boss actually didn't meet the requirements and had no choice but to. After a long, long time, the four of them finally stopped feeling sorrowful. Unveils, Shimon Wanli, and the rest personally made a new table. All around, 10 seats were neatly arranged. One of them was dignified and solemn. But it was empty. There wasn't a single thing in it. Looking at the newly built table, the four of them burst into tears again. The position of boss had disappeared for tens of thousands of years. Today, it was finally set up for him again. However, where was boss now? The brothers were all here. But where was the boss who had given the most, shouldered the most and thought the most for the brothers? Thinking of this, the four of them felt like their hearts were being twisted by knives. They couldn't control themselves. What followed was an entire day and night. The four of them didn't close their eyes. They kept talking and talking. They kept recalling bits and pieces of the past. Dawn. Second brother, come back with us. Unveils' eyes were red. Wu Juecheng shook his head slowly. Go and fight the extraterrestrial demons. This is a matter of life and death. My cultivation isn't enough. Even though I'm not afraid of sacrifice, with my current cultivation, even if I force myself to go, I'll only be a burden to you. I don't want to burden others and myself. Wu Juecheng shook his head resolutely. Right now, I'm still working hard to cultivate and improve my own cultivation. When my cultivation is enough, I'll naturally go and look for you. After a pause, Wu Juecheng said, you must take care of yourselves. At least until the day I go and see you. The three of them shook their heads sorrowfully at the same time. What's there to talk about? Boss died for us for tens of thousands of years. Compared to Boss, it's a sin for us to live another day. Wu Juecheng said dispassionately, you're wrong. You let Boss down because you didn't understand his intentions. Whether you're willing or not, you have to work hard to live on and live on together with Boss. The ultimate mission of the Tribulation Sword Master is to fight the extraterrestrial demons. Although Boss is no longer here, we brothers can't lose face for him. Our only goal in life from now on is to eliminate the demons. Those who dare to commit suicide will not only be letting me down, you'll also be letting yourselves down. More importantly, you'll be letting down Boss who risked his life to protect you. The previous tribulations were all on this heavenly demon battlefield. Everyone was working hard to kill the enemy. We mustn't fall behind the other tribulations. As long as my cultivation is enough, I'll rush over and fight the extraterrestrial demons with my brothers. If anyone doesn't cherish their life and gives it up so easily, then they'll really be letting Boss down. Remember, your lives now aren't just for yourselves. You have to think of Boss and live on for him. Wu Juecheng said gloomily, when we kill all the extraterrestrial demons, we'll have a chance to ask the heavenly Tao to revive Boss. This is the only goal I have for the rest of my life. Wu Juecheng took a deep breath. Revive Boss. The eyes of the three of them lit up at the same time. At their level, they already understood a lot of things and gradually became qualified to know a lot of things. For example, the matter of revival. To ordinary people, it was an extremely absurd thing, but it didn't necessarily mean that it didn't exist at all. Now that they were reminded by Wu Juecheng's words, they all felt that it was really possible. As long as the brothers worked hard and accumulated enough battle merits, they might still have a chance after splitting Boss's share equally. From now on, this will be the goal that we brothers will strive for in our lives. Boss, we must bring you back to life. Chapter 1996. The three of them didn't say much and left hurriedly. P.C.M. Before leaving, he warned Wu Juecheng again and again. Don't run around. We will come and visit you at any time. Your cultivation is really too weak now. In this world, it's hard to find anyone weaker than you. The other brothers will definitely come and visit you when they know. Hurry up and cultivate. These are some elixirs, to help with cultivation. These are some spiritual treasures, to help with cultivation. We have to go back and inform the other brothers as soon as possible. Every moment counts, or the other brothers will also come here to seek confirmation from you. You must take care, second brother. Watching his brothers go back, Wu Jueqing took a deep breath and suppressed the bitterness in his heart. I really want to go and fight with you guys, but I can't drag you guys down. Brothers, wait for me. Wu Jueqing didn't reject the cultivation elixirs left behind by his brothers. In fact, he didn't even say anything courteous and accepted all of them. There was no need to be courteous when taking things from his brothers. If he were to be courteous with them, they would probably break his head the moment he said something courteous. Boss. All the brothers already know about your painstaking efforts back then. Wu Jueqing murmured. As long as there's a chance, we must grasp it and revive Boss. The brothers will shed all our blood to apologize to Boss. After a long silence, Wu Jueqing punched the hard and solid ground of the jade rock hard. This punch was completely self-torture. There was no defense at all. No cultivation at all. The ground didn't move, but Wu Jueqing's fist was immediately covered in blood. But he didn't stop. He continued to punch down, scolding angrily. What are you pretending to be cool for? Didn't you also scold Boss like this back then? You met your own brothers. Yet you speak so harshly and make such sarcastic remarks. You scolded them for being ungrateful, but what about you? What about you? What about you? How did you resent Boss back then? 40,000 years. Is your hatred any less than theirs? What are you scolding for? How can you have the face to do that? Sigh. Ever since he knew the truth, the hatred and helplessness in his heart had accumulated for too long. He couldn't let it go. Every time he thought about it, it was like a heart-wrenching bite. He hated it. He hated the heavens. He hated himself even more. Why? Why? And who could tell him why the heavens were so unfair? Why did good people have to suffer so many disasters? Faced with the hatred of his brothers, Wu Jueqing felt as though he had seen himself back then, the same disdain and resentment. Hot blood rushed to his head in an instant. He could no longer control himself. He only knew that he was filled with hatred and anger. He wanted to scold the idiots in front of him until they woke up. Bastard. Bastard. They were brothers. More importantly, it was himself. He was in a trance as he cursed loudly. It was as if Boss was standing right beside him. Since Boss wasn't around, Wu Jueqing had to avenge Boss. Although Boss would never scold him like this even if he were here, Wu Jueqing could no longer control himself. One punch after another. Blood was flowing, and his heart was in pain. No matter how much blood was shed, could it compare to Boss's blood and tears? No. Could he replace Boss's pain? His hands were already numb and he couldn't feel any pain at all. His white bones were already visible. Wu Jueqing suddenly felt as though all his strength had been sucked out of him. He sat down on the ground and stared blankly at the bright red blood flowing further and further away. A teardrop fell from the corner of his eye and merged into the pool of blood. Wu Jueqing said softly, as though he was smiling and crying at the same time, Wu Jueqing, you're not a good person either, ungrateful. You're just an ungrateful villain. At this moment, Wu Jueqing was just like a helpless child, squatting in a corner and hugging his knees, sobbing. I didn't cry when I couldn't find my brothers. But since I've already found my brothers, why should I cry? But I just can't help but feel my heart ache. Chu Yang had once said, such a hero, even the heavens have to account for it. Wu Jueqing only remembered this sentence. Heroes never die. Even if there was no hope, one had to try his best to create hope. What's more, there was still a hope that, although faint, had once existed. Lone Bamboo City. Chu Yang had already stayed here peacefully for 3 whole days. In these 3 days, he had been collecting herbs like a nouveau riche. Of course, he had definitely collected them with different appearances. If he had only collected herbs with the same appearance, he would probably have been caught on the first day. The market wouldn't be willing to accept such a buyer or seller regardless of the price or cost. However, the situation was different since the 5 of them were separately collecting the medicines. Moreover, Chu Yang would change his appearance and personally go out every day. This had changed the situation from maliciously snatching the medicines to a situation where the supply couldn't meet the demand. Although the end result was the same, the market's reaction was more normal. At least it wouldn't attract too much attention. However, The herbs market in Lone Bamboo City still inevitably became popular. Under the influence of supply and demand, even some herbs from the surrounding cities began to be transported here. Seeing this situation, Chu Yang decisively stopped collecting. On one hand, it might not be a good thing to cause too much of a commotion. On the other hand, he was running out of money. Before he left, Chu Yang had more than 1 million purple cloud coins with him. However, herbs and elixirs that could quickly heal injuries and improve cultivation were naturally very expensive. That 1 million purple cloud coins seemed like a lot, but when it was really needed, he knew that he couldn't stop spending them. In these few days, he had already spent about 70 to 80% of it. Now, the tribulation space was still in a sealed state. He didn't know when it would open again. He had to make more plans for the present. In these few days, Chu Yang would secretly go to the ancestral tomb of the demon race every night. He would find a secluded place to hide and cultivate. At the same time, the divine spirit hidden in Chu Yang's space ring silently flew into the ancestral tomb. The massive amount of heterogeneous death energy accumulated in the ancestral tomb over thousands of years was absorbed by the divine spirit just like that. Although the death energy in the ancestral tomb was heterogeneous and impure and its quality wasn't high, it had the advantage of being massive. The divine spirit first absorbed all of it, then removed the impurities bit by bit and purified it. In less than 3 days, the tribulation divine soul had recovered a little. Although it was still far from its peak, the tribulation divine soul was already very satisfied. That day, the destruction of wind and thunder was the perfect counter to his calamity. His divine soul had almost been completely destroyed. Compared to Meng Wuya, the divine spirit suffered much more serious injuries. However, in terms of its current state of recovery, the divine spirit was definitely recovering faster than Meng Wuya. Firstly, the divine spirit's physique was special. It was almost immortal. Although the injury was serious, it didn't actually harm its origin. As long as there was enough death energy, recovery was only a matter of time. Secondly, even though Meng Wuya was seriously injured, he still didn't want to rest. He was always chasing Chu Yang and mediating with people from all sides. There were many unforeseen events during this time. He suffered many setbacks and witnessed a large number of casualties. His injuries only became more and more serious. Unlike the divine spirit hid with Chu Yang to focus on healing. One had a lot of things to do, while the other had no distractions. The difference in environment between the two was completely immeasurable. In addition, there was another key point. Along the way, the divine spirit not only absorbed a large amount of death energy from the dead on both sides, but also absorbed a lot of pure death energy that originated from Chu Yang but wasn't completely absorbed by Chu Yang. Chu Yang's cultivation had reached a higher level, reaching the level of heavenly being. The efficiency of the layered heaven divine technique was naturally sharper and stronger, and its ability to absorb the world's spiritual energy had also improved. The origin energy transformed by the layered heaven divine technique was almost equivalent to the origin and purest energy of this origin energy. In terms of pure death energy, even an old monster like the divine spirit who had cultivated for hundreds of thousands of years like the divine spirit couldn't compare to Chu Yang in terms of purity. However, because there was still a considerable gap between the cultivation of the two, under normal circumstances, Chu Yang wouldn't be unable to absorb it in time and would overflow. Even if it did, the divine spirit might not care about it. However, the current situation was indeed very special. On one hand, Chu Yang was enduring the cleansing of a large amount of pure spiritual energy from the tribulation space at every moment. The divine spirit's own absorption of the world's spiritual energy was inevitably overflowing. Although the divine spirit's injuries had healed a little, it still needed pure death energy to further nourish its origin. The amount of death energy that Chu Yang overflowed was not large, but the quality was extremely high. These two were a perfect combination. The day when the divine spirit's recovery was really looking forward to, Mo Yunqian's people had now entered the demon emperor heaven. There were even people who came to Lone Bamboo City a few days ago. However, after searching around, they didn't find anything unusual. In addition, this place wasn't far from the core of the demon emperor heaven. Naturally, the people who came didn't dare to rashly offend. Without any harvest, they quickly retreated. Chu Yang seized the time to quickly collect the medicinal herbs and put them into medicine. In these few days, everyone was recuperating and cultivating. Everything was very peaceful. However, Chu Yang knew that such peace wouldn't last for long. The peace now was just a facade before the storm. And at this time, there was a youth in white, walking over with a frown on his face. Chu Yang. Where did this Chu Yang come from? The youth in white frowned with a conflicted face. I already said that he came here to seek refuge. What's the point of giving me this portrait? Why would he appear in the Demon Emperor heaven with his real face? Unless his brain is fried. As for why this person is like this, it's as if he's been gang raped a few hundred times. Although his human face is really unpresentable, since he can do such a thing, you can't judge a book by its cover. The youth in white was holding the portrait that Chu Yang used to register his residence. With a frown on his face and a grimace, it was as if he was gang raped by 300 strong men. First update. Second update is a little late. Later, I'll have a gathering with my brothers from Tiebar on YY. Tonight, I'll work overtime to write the second update. If you can't wait, you can read it tomorrow. Chapter 1997. This is really like looking for a needle in a haystack. The young man in white looked up at the sky and sighed. I wonder how Sister Z is doing now. Sigh, although I wasn't allowed to enter the palace that day, I was at least 3 steps closer to her. It was the best time to follow up on my victory, but I was called back by my mother at this juncture and was given such a strange task. This is really too much. What could be more important than finding a daughter-in-law for you? I don't understand, I really don't understand. PSCOM, beside him, there were 2 thin old men. As they listened to the young man in white snagging, the 2 old men's faces were as red as dates and they didn't say a word. If this young man was their grandnephew or something, based on his ability to talk for 10,000 miles, they would have strangled him to death long ago. This old man's ears are full of calluses now, but this young man's identity. The situation was more important than the person, so they had to bear with it. How could they not? Uncle Hu, how many cities have we searched so far? The young man in white turned around and asked. Cough, 1, Uncle Hu replied. He felt helpless. My surname isn't Hu. My surname is Gao, okay? You can't call me Uncle Hu just because I'm from the Fox clan. The old men didn't change their surnames. They didn't even change their names. Now that they were old, they had to let a kid change their surname. What the hell was going on? No, he didn't dare to say that. It was a slip of the tongue, already one, and they were all quiet cities. I just don't understand, why would such a powerful person choose to stay in a quiet city? The young man in white started nagging again. I think he should be in the capital, or in some place where earth-shattering things could happen. How am I supposed to find him? This is really killing me. The 2 old men's faces were as red as dates and they continued to remain silent. This old man was a chatterbox. It was no wonder. He had been lying in bed for thousands of years. His mind was clear but he couldn't speak. Now that he had woken up, it was understandable that he became a chatterbox. But the problem was, the 2 of them were the ones accompanying this chatterbox. There was no end to this torment. You called for help. We haven't even called for help yet. If you said 1 sentence, he would immediately talk to you for 4 hours based on your meaningless sentence. Along the way, the 2 of them had already made up their minds, unless it was absolutely necessary, they would absolutely not speak to him. Uncle Hu, what city is up ahead? The white-clothed youth asked with great interest. Lone Bamboo City. Uncle Hu's answer was concise and comprehensive. He would not say more than 1 word if he could. Yes. Luohua City was just a little further south from Lone Bamboo City. It's really not that far away. Regardless of whether we can find it or not, we can't find it. How about we all settle down in Lone Bamboo City? The Grand Elder was in high spirits and seemed to be very interested. The 2 old men looked troubled. The mission given by the Demon Empress was a death order. It was abnormally strict and serious, And now, you actually said it. She had become so indifferent, he really didn't know what to do. If something really happened, you are the son of the demon empress. Even if you were to be punished, it would just be for show. What about us? Uncle Hu. Look, isn't this place very close to Luohua City? The Grand Elder begged, although my mother has made it clear that I can't go to Luohua City, but I'll be fine in Lone Bamboo City, right? After all, it's two different places. If we have nothing to do, we can still stroll around casually, right? Maybe we can meet Miss Z when we stroll around. I believe that we are destined to be together. Maybe if we suddenly meet, Miss Z will realize that this is fate. It's fate that belongs to the two of us. Maybe she will secretly fall in love with me from then on. Then I will have a chance, right? So I can go home with the beauty. The Grand Elder's saliva was everywhere. He was daydreaming for a while, as if it had already become a reality. The two old men were speechless. They lowered their heads and didn't say anything. They wailed inwardly, God, Earth, help. Our Grand Elder is going crazy again. It's only been 3 days. He had already made such hypotheses thousands of times. God. Our Grand Elder was hopelessly infatuated. Was it useful to declare victory unilaterally? Uncle Ma, please introduce this Lone Bamboo City to me. The Grand Elder finally changed the topic. My surname is not Ma. Uncle Ma said with a straight face, Grand Elder, my surname is Chiu, not Ma. I know. I heard from my mother that you were born in autumn, so your surname is Chiu. But you're from the horse tribe, right? Besides, you can choose the time of your birth. If you were born a few months later, your surname would be Dong, right? But your origin and your tribe can't be changed, right? The Grand Elder said eloquently, Tell me, what's wrong with me calling you Uncle Ma? It's a perfect match. Uncle Ma looked helpless. He wanted to argue but couldn't. Facing such an unreliable Grand Elder, even if he had a talent for arguing, he could only be speechless. Uncle Hu looked at him sympathetically. Uncle Ma raised his hands and surrendered. Okay, you can call me Uncle Ma from now on. If he still didn't agree, the Grand Elder would start the lesson immediately and force him to admit that he was Uncle Ma. That would be a long and cruel process. It would be worse than torture. Since he had to accept it in the end, he might as well let his ears suffer less. Then please tell me about this Lone Bamboo City. The Grand Elder was very interested, especially the history of Lone Bamboo City. If I can't complete a mission in the future, I can tell my mother clearly. It will prove that I did work hard and did not do nothing. The two of them were speechless at the same time. You worked hard. When did you work hard? Don't you dare insult the word hard. Ever since a certain Grand Elder said that he had no ambition and ignored the Demon Empress orders, the two super experts of the demon race were completely discouraged. It seemed that they had no choice but to be discouraged. Following such an unreliable Grand Elder, even if you were a saint, what could you do? So the three of them suddenly slowed down and staggered all the way into Lone Bamboo City. It was as if an excited Gongzi was leading two walking corpses. The two of them were angry. God, let me die. Not only did I have nothing to do, but I also had to bear a chatterbox. Not only did he have to talk, he even changed his surname. They wandered around the city for half a day. The Grand Elder said that he was close to the people. Observe the local customs. The two masters almost hit the wall. This is not your mission. Your mission is to find Chu Yang RRR. After a while, the Grand Elder had enough of the local customs. After being pointed at and scolded for flirting with a girl, he decided to find an inn near the North Gate. The people here are not cute, the Grand Elder said. The two masters only felt that their balls were cramping. You flirted with someone's wife in front of her husband. It was already good that we did not beat you up on the spot. When the Grand Elder went out, he would definitely stay in the most luxurious hotel in the city. He would not choose the right one. He would only choose the expensive one. The expensive one might not be the right one, but it would definitely not be the worst one, although he was not officially going out with his identity. The main purpose was to complete the mission, but the Grand Elder could not lose his status, no matter the time. The best suite. The Grand Elder said to the inn indifferently and matter-of-factly, "I want the highest and biggest one here." The inn worker had a difficult look on his face. "Dear guest, please forgive me. The room you specified is already occupied. Why don't you?" "Huh?" The Grand Elder was startled. Before he could say anything, Uncle Ma, who had been holding back his anger, said, "Ask the person staying in there to get out. Immediately clean it up and make room for us." As soon as he said that, he heard someone say softly on the tip of his tongue, "Hey, hey. What's wrong? Chasing a girl and flirting with a girl are all about first come first served. What's wrong? Now that he is staying in an inn, you want to kick him out and make room for you? Do you still care about the justice of the martial world? Is this the justice of the world?" TSK TSK TSK, Demon Emperor Heaven is indeed Demon Emperor Heaven. This Grand Elder has seen it for himself this time. Awesome, awesome, really awesome. I didn't think that there would be someone more awesome than Old Man in this world. This person kept saying Old Man. Completely undisguised sarcasm and ridicule, mixed with a strong sense of provocation. It even revealed a roguish tone. The three people turned their heads at the same time, following the voice. But in the next moment, they were all startled. They saw a person standing at the top of the stairs. His two hands were crossed, and he was looking at them with slanted eyes. From the way he spoke just now, it was clear that this person was definitely a hooligan. It wasn't surprising for him to behave like this. What was more surprising, or rather, special, was that this person's appearance was really a little weird. One of his eyes was big, while the other was small. One of his eyes was round, while the other was triangular. One of his ears was long forward, while the other was long backward. His entire face looked as if it had been punched by the Creator after he was created. Then, he carelessly rubbed his face. Although he could still barely make out the appearance of a human, it was really a little forced. Even his two eyebrows were inverted. Also, this person's voice was extremely strange. It was like a pack of wolves howling in the dark night, mixed with a group of male ducks. The Grand Elder was clearly frightened by this person's appearance. He asked in horror, "What kind of monster are you?" "A little late, sorry." Chapter 1998. That person walked down the stairs, swaying his shoulders. He raised his head, his nostrils facing the sky, and gently blew at the nose hair that floated out of his nostrils. When the nose hair was blown away, this person swung his hair, and with a shua sound, his messy hair was thrown to one side. "PTX. I'm the guest who's staying in the Sky Room 1 now." This person squinted. "In other words, I'm the one you want to chase out." As he said that, his whole body twitched, and his buttocks contracted. "Am I very handsome? When you looked at me like that just now, were you shocked by my appearance?" Hee. Master Tai's eyes widened, and he suddenly felt that his mind was blank. "Although I was indeed shocked by your appearance, and the result was undeniable, the difference between the two was too great. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. As the master of the entire demon clan, he could be considered as an experienced and knowledgeable senior figure. Moreover, in the entire heavenly layer, the demon clan's grotesque appearance was definitely at the top. But even so, he would never have thought that there would be someone in this world who looked so weird. Even in his dreams, he would never have thought that words like "Am I very handsome? Are you shocked by my appearance?" could actually come out from the mouth of this monster in front of him. Where was his conscience? With this kind of conduct, you still have the nerve to ask me where my morals are? Where's the justice? After being stunned for a long time, Master Tai suddenly flew into a rage. In that instant, he actually forgot that the other party didn't want to let him in the room. He pointed at him furiously and shouted, You said this. Do you have any conscience? You asked this, don't you feel guilty?" Uncle Hu and Uncle Ma, who were about to get angry, almost fainted when they heard this. The other party's question was undoubtedly beyond common sense, but Master Tai's answer seemed to be even more unexpected. Appearing and disappearing unpredictably, the conflict that should have happened immediately was diverted by the other party's words. and it was diverted to a completely unrelated place. And Master Tai's words were so easy to divert. He just went along with it, and didn't even look back. Of course, he also had to be on guard against the sudden counterattack of this strange fellow. It was basically a foregone conclusion that he would fly into a rage out of humiliation. Unexpectedly, when the strange man heard this, he suddenly seemed very pleased with himself and said, "You knew my wife when you were young?" The old master was confused again. What was going on? He scratched his head subconsciously and asked, "Do I know your wife?" He thought, "Is this person crazy?" This person was beaming with joy. His 2 eyebrows were like 2 earthworms twitching and jumping on his face. It was extremely frightening. He laughed and said in a clear voice, "When my wife saw me back then, the first thing she said was the same thing. What you said just now actually made me experience the taste of love again. Thank you." The taste of love. Grandpa Lin felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He was so shocked that he was charred on the outside and tender on the inside. "Did I let you taste the taste of love? Heavens, back then. That little girl wasted a lot of my effort. Just thinking about it makes me sigh." The strange man reminisced. This guy, after such a thing, actually fell into a reverie of the past. What was even more ridiculous was that a certain old master actually felt a burst of sympathy at this moment. He thought of how difficult it was for him to chase a girl. He couldn't help but nod and feel the same. Yes, chasing a girl is really too difficult. As long as you can have the last laugh, any price is worth it. A girl, a girl. The strange man's face showed some nostalgia and also seemed to be sad. A girl, a girl, a girl. Grandpa Lin sighed and was really sad. For a moment, Uncle Hu and Uncle Ma looked at each other in shock. Shouldn't these 2 people be fighting for the room? Under normal circumstances, the process would be one insisted on staying. The other didn't give way, and the 2 of them would fight. Then, if they fought until someone died, it would be normal for the head to bleed, right? Why are they chatting like they know each other so well now? What was going on? How could this be? However, these 2 people were talking one after another. Neither of them seemed to understand what the other party was talking about, but they felt that what the other party said was very similar to their own experiences. The more they talked, the warmer they became. The more they talked, the more they regretted not meeting each other earlier. "Brother, we hit it off at first sight. I'll treat you to a drink, you must give me some face." Grandpa Lin waved his hand generously. "I definitely can't give you this face." The strange man glared and waved his hand generously. "Unless it's my treat." Ha ha ha, good, good, good. The 2 of them laughed heartily. Then, the strange man laughed and walked over. He actually put his arm around the old man's shoulder like a good brother. The old man was not on guard and was hugged by the other party. The 2 of them had their arms around each other's shoulders. As they talked heatedly, they found a table and sat down. Then, the 2 of them began to bang on the table and shout, asking for wine and dishes. "Waiter, serve the wine. I want good wine." The strange man banged on the table. "Waiter, serve the dishes. I want good dishes." Grandpa Lin banged on the table. "Hurry up. Don't dawdle." The strange man raised his head and shouted, "If you dawdle, I'll tear down your restaurant." Grandpa Lin said fiercely, "Hurry up. Don't be so insensible." The 2 of them shouted together. They were like 2 hooligans. Uncle Hu and Uncle Ma felt their eyeballs hit the ground at the same time. Fuck. How could this be? What was going on? How could it be like this? The 2 of them walked over like puppets and looked at the 2 people sitting opposite them. They were talking about something with exultation. The 2 of them sat down mechanically, completely speechless. Under such urging, how could the restaurant dare to be negligent? Not long after, the wine and dishes were all served. He saw that the 2 people opposite him were in high spirits, their saliva flying in all directions. There was no need to mention the opportunistic spirit of exchanging toasts. However, as they talked, the situation changed. It became that strange man talking alone, while Grandpa Lin listened attentively and listened attentively. "So, I killed that strange man and took out the spiritual beast core and gave it to her. Ha ha ha, she had a crush on me. Then, her brother didn't agree to our relationship. I was furious. How dare you interfere with my relationship with my wife? How could you do that? That strange man's saliva flew everywhere as he spoke. He was in high spirits, insufferably arrogant. Grandpa Lin watched and listened enviously. Because in the end, the other party got her. Just this point alone is already much, much stronger than me. Much, much, much stronger. Women. That strange man felt the other party's admiration and envy, as well as some jealousy. He became even more complacent. My wife looked very fierce at first, but later on, she fell into my hands. In my hands, she's as gentle as water. Of course, this gentleness is only for me. Ha 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 ha. Grandpa Lin raised the wine pot. He poured the wine eagerly with a face full of admiration. Amazing, amazing. I admire you. Let's drink, let's drink. Ha ha ha. That strange man laughed. Suddenly, he rolled his eyes and said, "Sigh. I seem to have neglected a very important thing." The three of them looked at him at the same time. Uncle Hu and Uncle Ma were nervous at the same time. Did this guy remember to fight for the room at this time? However, they saw that this person patted his head and said with realization, "We hit it off at first sight." I actually forgot to ask. Brother, what's your name? Although in the heart, name is just a code name, but it's still better to know this code name. Grandpa Lin also patted his head. Yes, yes, yes. I was too engrossed in listening to you. It's really rude of me. I haven't asked your name yet. The two of them actually laughed awkwardly at the same time, as if they were a little embarrassed. The same action, scratching their heads. As they scratched, they laughed awkwardly. Hee hee, puff puff. The two supermasters next to them fell under the chairs at the same time. Obviously, it was not enough. They could only actually crawl under the table. Fuck, there was actually such a weirdo in this world. After putting their arms around each other's shoulders for so long, drinking more than 10 kilograms of wine, being so intimate as if they were wearing the same pants, they actually only remembered to ask each other's names now, and both of them were, could this be the legendary saying, that if they were not of the same family, they would not enter the same house? This pair of birds of a feather was really not just a little bit. There were already too many weirdos like this, but there were actually two of them. And they were so lucky to be at the same table. This was really a lucky chance. The two masters sighed endlessly in their hearts. The two of them were actually able to witness this meeting. It was really the good fortune of 3 lifetimes. My name is Yarrow Ningning. May I ask for your name? Grandpa Lin directly said his real name, and the two masters did not even have time to stop him. My Grandpa Lin, this Yarrow Ningning was the name of Demon Emperor Heaven. Who in the entire Demon Emperor Heaven did not know? There would definitely not be a repeat of this situation. If it was a normal person, perhaps they would not know, but this guy had a tyrannical aura. He was obviously a person of the pugilistic world. How could he not know his name? Now that he knew who you were, he could not help but try to worm his way into being friends with you. Just look at how much we worship this guy's theory of picking up girls. Wouldn't he give you whatever you want? Grandpa Lin, you are too. You said you wanted to make friends, that's not a problem. But you have already revealed your identity. How are you going to make friends? Just wait for the other party to kowtow to you. Unexpectedly, that weirdo laughed, his eyebrows dancing. Yarrow Ningning. Is it a girl and a Yarrow of that name? Brother, I have to say, your name is a little unsuitable. It sounds like the name of a girl. It's two. He actually started to criticize. The two masters looked at each other, stunned. This weirdo actually did not know that this was Grandpa's name. Who said it wasn't? Grandpa Lin slapped his thigh, as if he had met a confidant, and said, I thought so too, but my mother refused to change it for me. I wanted to change my name, but I was scolded and beaten by my mother. You don't even know, Sai, it's a long story. Your mother is so awesome. You even have a mother to discipline you. That weirdo said with a little envy. The two masters of the demon race looked at each other, dumbfounded. They lowered their heads at the same time and drank their tea with a speechless expression. Weirdo. Definitely a super weirdo. Your mother is so awesome. Sigh. His mother was the Demon Empress. How could the Demon Empress not be awesome? Chapter 1999. Sigh. Just mentioning my name makes me cry. Yarrow Ningning sighed. My mother and a few elders don't call me Ningning. Although Ningning is too feminine, it's still nicer than Ning. Originally from P, Master Tai wanted to cry. But they all call me Ning. They all say that I'm very stupid. Tell me, am I stupid? You say, am I stupid, am I stupid? This is really unreasonable. The weirdo opposite felt the same. Although you look a little stupid, you're actually not stupid. I can guarantee that. Master Tai was so grateful that he actually choked. You're really a good person. Only you can see that I'm not stupid in this world. The two experts lowered their heads, their faces full of black lines. That's because he's stupid too. Sigh, the two greatest idiots in the world are gathered together to talk about being stupid. Can this be any weirder? But my Yarrow is not the Yarrow you're talking about. Master Tai, Yarrow Ningning, had just said that when Uncle who pinched Yarrow Ningning. He hurriedly realized and corrected himself. Yes. It's the Yarrow you're talking about. Why are you talking so incoherently? This is not good. A man's words should be like the wind. Once a word is said, it's powerful and resonant. The weirdo looked at him with dissatisfaction. Master Tai smiled apologetically, feeling that he was in the wrong. Thank you for your guidance, brother. May I ask, what's your name? The strange man coughed and raised his head in an insufferably arrogant manner. If you want to talk about my name, it's really famous, like thunder piercing the ears, like the bright moon in the sky. Yarrow Ningning said fervently, that's for sure. Although I haven't seen you before, just based on your knowledge and experience, I can tell that you're definitely not an ordinary person. I've definitely heard of your great name. There's no doubt about it. That's for sure. My name has once shaken the entire heavenly layer. The weirdo was full of confidence. Brother, let me remind you, sit tight. Don't be scared when you hear my name later. Yarrow Ningning subconsciously puffed out his chest. Say it, I'm prepared. I'm mentally prepared. Even if I'm surprised, I won't be scared. Uncle Hu and Uncle Ma turned their heads away at the same time. They could not bear to watch any longer. The scene in front of him was too horrible to look at. What was this? In the entire Heaven Valley, there were only a few people who were truly at the top. Could this fellow be more famous than Die an Empress? How dare he claim to have shaken the entire Heaven Palace? This was clearly a waste of effort. He's raising his status, but why does our madam look so convinced? The other party hadn't even said anything yet, and he had already expressed his trust in him. With this level of intelligence, he dared to argue that he wasn't stupid at all. You're really stupid to the extreme. Brother, listen carefully. My name is Tan Tan. Tan Tan is me. I am Tan Tan. There was no doubt that this strange man was Tan Tan. He raised his nostrils and said, have you heard of me? Like thunder in the ear, the bright moon in the sky. Tan Tan had been practicing martial arts arduously ever since he had come up. He had also been trying his best to rob people. So, he hadn't made many friends. But, it was rare for him to find someone who admired him so much today. There was even a slight trend of him becoming an idol. This was the first time Tan Tan had met a good person who could talk to him so sincerely. In his excitement, he couldn't help but say a few more words. In the end, he saw that this fellow was actually stunned by his words. Such a stupid person was really rare. If he didn't boast a little more, he would be letting down his vanity. Usually, when he was with Chu Yang and the rest, he didn't speak much. Those guys would just cover their ears and leave. This fellow in front of him was still the best. He actually didn't run away. Then, he would let go, open up, and break through all obstacles. Let's talk about it later. What Tan Tan said wasn't too far-fetched. Back in the Heaven Valley, other than Chu Yang, his cultivation was indeed very rare. Even Ning Tianya and Wu Jueqing might not be able to beat him. It could be said that his name was definitely in the top 3 of the Heaven Valley. He was indeed a big shot who had once shaken the Heaven Valley. However, this was ultimately not the Heaven Valley, but the Heaven Valley. So, naturally, of course, there was definitely no one who knew about Tan Tan. On the other side, Grandpa Yarrow Ningning was also in the same situation. Back then, he was forced to practice martial arts when he was young and didn't have any contact with the Jianghu. Once he went out, he met Xi Xieching and was shocked by her beauty. Then, he naturally wanted to take her into his harem. However, he was lured to a dangerous place. Under a sneak attack, he was bedridden for thousands of years. After he came out, he immediately went to pick up girls. He didn't have many friends in his life. Besides, his status was too high. Others didn't dare to casually make friends with him. Meeting Tan Tan today was the first time in his life that he had such a congenial conversation with someone. So, 1,000 cups were not enough to drink with a bosom friend. But now, Grandpa Yarrow was stunned. Yarrow Ningning's face was a little blank. To be honest, Grandpa Yarrow was really prepared just now. He was prepared to express his admiration after hearing the name of this expert. Words like "I've heard of your name for a long time, and it's my honor to meet you today" were already in his throat. As long as the other party said his name, as long as he had the slightest impression of him, he would go on and on. But, why was this name so unfamiliar? It seemed that he had never heard of it before. Could it be that he was too ignorant and inexperienced? He rarely walked the Jianghu, so he didn't know that there was such a big shot whose name shook the world. He turned his head to look at the 2 demon experts. The 2 of them shook their heads at the same time. Logically speaking, there was no reason for them not to know an expert whose name could shake the entire Heaven Imperial Court. But this Tan Tan, who exactly was he? What? Could it be that you haven't heard of me? You're too ignorant and inexperienced. Tan Tan looked at Yarrow Ningning unhappily. He was a little discouraged. Damn it. It was so rare for him to show his trump card to others, but he actually met someone who didn't know what was good for him. Young Master Tan suddenly felt dull. He also felt a little embarrassed. It hurt his pride too much. Yarrow Ningning looked embarrassed. Well, it's probably because I'm often at home and rarely walk the Jianghu. So, I'm ignorant and inexperienced. Forget it. One look and I can tell that you're ignorant. Tan Tan snorted and said with a nasal voice, "Seeing that you have to bring 2 bodyguards when you go out, I know that you don't have much experience in the Jianghu. A real man travels the world alone, repaying kindness and revenge quickly, just like me. Only then can you live freely and happily. Bringing bodyguards when you go out is like a child bringing a nanny when he goes out. Let's not talk about whether there are restrictions or not. In terms of momentum, you're a coward." Tan Tan shook his head. "Chimpate. I can't say that you're a coward. Besides, we hit it off at first sight, so I'm embarrassed to say that you're a coward. But if I don't say that you're a coward, I'll be letting my conscience down." Just because the other party didn't know his name, he turned from a brother to a coward in the blink of an eye. The 2 experts at the side stared at each other. "You haven't said that we're a coward? You've said it 8 fucking times. And you still have the face to say, I didn't say that you're a coward. I actually left you some face. Where did you leave this face?" Yarrow Ningning's face instantly turned red. He panted heavily and his eyes were wide open. The 2 experts were gratified. Master finally knows how to get angry. Sigh, that's right. If it was someone else who was pointed at and called a coward, who wouldn't be able to stand it? It was natural for Master to get angry. The 2 of them were ready. They were just waiting for Master to get angry and kill this guy with their palms. Master panted a few times with a red face. Suddenly, he turned his head and threw a tantrum at the 2 of them. "I told you not to follow me. Look, I'm being looked down upon. It's all because of you that I've become a coward in the eyes of my friends." As he spoke, he felt extremely wronged. "If it weren't for you following me, would I have become a coward?" The 2 senior experts of the demon race felt as if they were struck by lightning. They stared at Master and couldn't wrap their heads around it for a moment. You're really my father. This isn't what you should be angry about, right? Why, what are you looking at? I'm telling the two of you, don't follow me anymore. Yarrow Ningning said angrily, I also want to travel thousands of miles alone in the martial world and settle my grudges to my heart's content. In an instant, the two experts of the demon race looked at Tan Tan as if they were going to swallow him alive. They really wanted to strangle this ugly guy in front of them to death immediately. Look at what kind of trouble you've caused. Do you know what you're doing? Yes. This is delightful. Tan Tan cheered loudly. Facing the dangers of the martial world alone, fighting in a moment of life and death, trekking through thousands of mountains and rivers, seeing the rise and fall of the world, admiring the beauties of the world, killing those who deserve to be killed, admiring the 10 great sceneries of the world, making friends from all over the world. Isn't this delightful? Tan Tan looked up to the sky and roared. If life is like this, isn't it delightful? Yarrow Ningning's blood instantly boiled. He also let out a long roar. He only felt that his chest was full of pride, as if he had already galloped the martial world and trampled the world. He couldn't help but stand up and shout, that's right. Isn't it delightful to roam the martial world like this and travel to your heart's content? I've decided. I want to roam the martial world alone. I want to build an immortal achievement. I want my name to be known for thousands of years. I want to kill recklessly in mountains of corpses and seas of blood. I want to wander happily in the reincarnation of life and death. I want to rise proudly in the midst of love and hate. I want to go back and forth between mountains of swords and mountains of blade. Yarrow Ningning shouted loudly, inexplicably excited. Now, the two experts of the demon race looked at Tan Tan with more and more unfriendly eyes. They already wanted to cut this guy into pieces. What kind of status do you have? You actually want to risk your life in the martial world just because of a few words from you. It's over. It's really over this time. Good. Well said. Tan Tan cheered loudly. This is what a hero should do. Which beauty in the world doesn't like such a man? When Yarrow Ningning heard the words beauty likes, his eyes lit up even more. Good. I've decided. I support you. Tan Tan clapped his hands and cheered. This is the true nature of a man with iron blood, a hero. Chapter 2000. The two elders of the demon race really couldn't stand it anymore. If this goes on, our great master will definitely be abducted and sold. Who knows what kind of person this guy is? Just look at him. He's not a good person. No matter how you look at him, he looks like a scammer. Our great master is a noob, and a super noob with zero experience in Jianghu. What should we do? Save us. The two elders' hearts were actually filled with these 3 words. May I ask who you are? Uncle, who had already confirmed that the other party was a super noob, and most likely a scammer. However, he couldn't deny it now. What's your motive for seducing our great master like this? You're asking who I am. Didn't I say that I'm Tan Tan? Your great master is young, and he doesn't roam Jianghu often. It's fine if you don't know me, but you two don't look like nameless people. How can you ask such a question without common sense? Tan Tan was suddenly startled. Then, he said, what did you just say? Seduce. He pointed at Yarrow Ningning, and suddenly burst into laughter. Your shallow experience is your own business, but you can't talk nonsense. Do you think he's a beauty? Seduce. Ha 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 ha. Uncle, who didn't have time to say anything. Yarrow Ningning had already stood up with righteous indignation. Uncle who? What are you talking about? Brother Tan, you're a real man who's open and aboveboard at first glance. How is this seducing me? Besides, am I the kind of person who can be seduced so easily? Am I that stupid? I haven't gone out for a long time, so it's understandable that I lack Jianghu experience. You two always boast about your rich Jianghu experience in front of me. How can you say such amateurish words at this time? I feel ashamed for you two. Uncle Ma was about to refute, but he was stopped by Great Master. You also shut up. I don't want to hear your voices again. Please don't disgrace me. The two of them were tongue-tied and speechless, completely at a loss of what to do. My dear Great Master, I didn't expect you to be so stupid. Brother Tan, don't let them spoil our mood. Come, let's continue drinking. The two of us are going to roam the Jianghu. I know that I'm not experienced enough, so I'll have to rely on Brother Tan to take care of me. Yarrow Ningning passionately urged him to drink. His attitude was so humble. The two uncles at the side felt their hair stand on end as they looked at the entire Heaven Valley. My Empress Dowager couldn't possibly be so respectful to anyone. Even to the Demon Empress herself, she was fearful and frightened, but she wasn't respectful at all. Tan Tan squinted his eyes. It's not impossible for you to wander the Jianghu with me. I'll certainly protect you. But what is your cultivation level now? Don't fucking take 2 steps and you'll be dead. Yarrow Ningning was furious, and said, I'm only 1 step away from breaking through to the Deva realm. Is this cultivation enough? What? Fuck you. Tan Tan was gobsmacked. Her eyes were wide open. Your cultivation level is so high, you little gigolo. Motherfucker, you really don't show your true colors. Tan Tan hadn't expected that this idiot's cultivation would be higher than his. Motherfucker. He had always worked so hard that he even went to the official heavenly treasury to rob. Only then did he manage to scrape together some treasures to raise his cultivation level rapidly. Not long ago, he coincidentally obtained the yin-yang fish, which raised his cultivation level to the saint level. The speed of his cultivation advancement could be said to be unprecedented. Just as he was feeling complacent, he hadn't expected that he would randomly meet a guy who was obviously lacking in brains on the road, whose cultivation level was actually higher than his. Could it be that the heavens didn't have eyes? How could such a situation occur? Uncle Hu and Uncle Ma's anger rose again. They couldn't wait to chop Tan Tan into meat paste on the spot, crush him, and scatter his ashes. You fucking bastard. You really know how to curse. Just a casual curse, and you directly cursed the 2 pinnacle figures of the Demon Emperor Heaven. Fuck your grandfather? Who was Yarrow Ningning's grandfather? He was a super figure that even the Demon Empress had to call Big Brother. As for fucking you, it was even more of a bastard. Who was Yarrow Ningning's mother? Her Majesty the Demon Empress. When Yarrow Ningning first heard this, she was more or less uncomfortable. But when she heard the last sentence, a wise man doesn't show his true colors, her anger immediately turned into joy. After being scolded, she was actually proud and high-spirited. Humph. You're just making a fuss because you've seen too little. I have a lot of trump cards. Even a celestial being expert may not be my number 1. Tan Tan was even more surprised. Really? You're not bragging, right? How on earth did you cultivate, little one? How can you have such a high cultivation level? The Demon Empress suddenly had a feeling of exaltation. So there's also a day when I'm worshipped by others. The heavens pity me. This is really too rare. What's the big deal? It's nothing but hard work. Yes, hard work. Hard work. I wake up early and sleep late, and cultivate continuously until my hands are blistered. Yarrow Ningning boasted shamelessly, blowing his own trumpet. He really couldn't find any evidence, so he could only make up some nonsense. The 2 senior experts of the demon race lowered their heads sadly. Hard work, wake up early and sleep late, blisters on my hands, I really can't listen to it anymore. None of these words seem to have anything to do with the Demon Empress. Stop bragging, the sky is full of dust. Tan Tan couldn't hide the envy on his face anymore. He said, in martial arts cultivation, the one who reaches the top first. I've cultivated for more than 20 years, but I'm only at the saint level, and I'm still so proud of it. I've suffered a blow. Let's not talk about it. Cultivated for more than 20 years. Saint level. Yarrow Ningning was also shocked when he heard this. For him to be able to get to where he was now, he knew what kind of prerequisites he had. The value of those treasures he had used over the years was enough to pile up a peak celestial being expert. It was also because he didn't know what hard work was. With so many good materials on him, he could barely pile up a peak saint level. But the one in front of him was clearly a grassroot. He had actually reached the saint level. He was a real genius. Although there was a difference in the cultivation of the two, in fact, there wasn't much of a difference. So, the following conversation became more congenial. Compared to Yarrow Ningning, who was shocked, the two demon clan elders were shocked. They really didn't see that this little guy was really not simple. He had only cultivated for more than 20 years, and he had already reached the saint level. It was rare and commendable. The vision of these two demon clan elders was extraordinary. They had already seen through Tan Tan's real situation. But at this moment, when they suddenly heard Tan Tan's age, they couldn't help but observe carefully again. They judged from Tan Tan's bone age. This little guy was at most in his early 20s. Moreover, he was an outsider, not a disciple of a super sect. Under such conditions, it was really rare and commendable to have such a cultivation. So, the disgust they felt towards Tan Tan was not so strong. In fact, they even found him slightly more pleasing to the eye. Unfortunately, this pleasing to the eye didn't even last for a moment, because the next topic of conversation made the two demon clan elders have the impulse to run away. "You don't know my mother. My mother is too strict with me. Hey, you said that I went to chase women. I went to pick up girls. Aren't these proper things? This is a big matter related to the continuation of the bloodline of our descendants. But my mother just ordered me to come back. She wanted me to find a man." Yarrow Ningning sighed. "Find a man? Your mother is really outrageous. To be honest, what do women know? They have long hair and short knowledge." Tan Tan was disdainful. "But I have to say that your mother is really good at talking." Yarrow Ningning slapped his thigh. "Who said she wasn't? Whatever I said, she vetoed it. Whatever I wanted to do, she definitely wouldn't let me do it. Even my food and drink. She wanted to control it. I didn't have any freedom at all. Is your mother sick?" Although it's not nice to hear, I have heard of a disease called obsessive-compulsive disorder before. It's very similar to what you said. Tan Tan disagreed. Uncle Ma and Uncle Who expressed that they really couldn't stand it anymore. If anyone knew that the outrageous and insane woman these two bastards were talking about was the current demon empress, then the biggest joke in the Heaven Imperial Court would be born. "Don't worry. If you follow me from now on, I guarantee that you will eat and drink well. You will do whatever you want." Tan Tan patted his chest. "I have rich experience in the Jianghu. I can't be wrong." Master Tan nodded like a chick pecking at rice. After a round of drinking, both of them looked drunk because they didn't deliberately use their martial arts to evaporate the alcohol. Come. Let's drink again." Both of them were the kind of people who didn't know the depth of the situation. They continued to drink. After a short while, they were already dead drunk. "Little Ningning, if you follow me from now on, your life will be so wonderful and so splendid." Tan Tan was tongue-tied. Naturally, his words were getting more and more out of tune and incoherent. "I must see it well." Yarrow Ningning held her head and looked over. Tan Tan's head had already become 3 heads, swaying back and forth. Wait a moment. Let's find my senior brother first." "My senior brother? He's a really amazing person. He's the #1 person in the heavenly layer. I'm at most #2, Tan Tan burped. "Apart from his looks being a little worse than mine and not being as handsome as me. Everything else is better than me, #1 in the world." "Really, your senior brother, is so powerful?" Yarrow Ningning asked subconsciously. She kept nodding. She tilted her body. "Of course. Following my senior brother will be infinitely exciting, infinitely wonderful, infinitely." Tan Tan was very proud. "Then, what is your senior brother's name? Tell me, let me worship him too." "He, is called Ichiang." "Ichiang?" "Yes." Chapter 2001. The Grand Elder and the 2 elders couldn't take it anymore. It was already weird enough that he was called Tan Tan, but his senior brother was actually called Ichiang. "This is really that and that and that. Your senior brother isn't as handsome as you. That's for sure." Even though Yarrow Ningning was already dead drunk, he still subconsciously shuddered. He wasn't as handsome as Tan Tan, which meant that he was uglier than Tan Tan. Then his image was really unimaginable. How was he compared to Chu Yang, who seemed to have been raped countless times? Junior brother had already reached such a stage, then how weird would senior brother be? Could he be a little more normal? Could he? The two elders of the demon race were also secretly deliberating in their hearts. Oh right, where is your senior brother now? You should have a destination to look for him, right? Him, hehe, he should be here. Tan Tan slurred, even though he's running around, how could he hide from me? Hehe, a rumbling sound came from Tan Tan's chest. It sounded as if Tan Tan's stomach was rumbling when an outsider heard it. There was no lack of ridicule in it. Unexpectedly, Tan Tan's stomach suddenly bulged, and he shouted, "Motherfucker, drink!" The little movement in front of his chest instantly disappeared without a trace. The two elders of the demon race revealed a puzzled look at the same time. The two of them were finally drunk. You have to get a room. Stay here first. Tomorrow, I'll take you to the martial world. Tan Tan's voice was muffled. Go find my senior brother and have endless fun. Okay. The Grand Elder felt dizzy and agreed repeatedly. It seemed that he didn't know what he was talking about. He was completely at a loss. Hey! Tan Tan walked a few steps, and suddenly patted his head. He looked over with drunken eyes. Motherfucker. I almost forgot, you little bastard. You little bastard, you just said that you want to snatch my room. When this sentence came out, even the staff standing behind the counter fell to the ground with a face full of speechlessness. Oh my God, you only realized it now? What kind of mental illness is this? The two elders of the demon race were furious. His face was filled with black lines, and he was about to step forward and beat this bastard to death. Little bastard. Little bastard. Is this how you scold our Grand Master? If the Grand Master were to do that, then what would our demon empress become? What kind of mother is she? Hey! Yarrow Ningning's body swayed as she grabbed Tan Tan's arm. Then, she righteously and sternly said, Big brother, you must have misheard. You misheard? Was that even possible? That's impossible, right? Tan Tan swayed in confusion. You must have heard wrongly. It's absolutely possible. Grandpa Tai nodded with absolute certainty. So, you didn't say those words? Tan Tan was somewhat disappointed and frustrated. Why is my memory so bad? Definitely not. Yarrow Ningning's face was pure and innocent. Do you think I'm that kind of person? Do they look alike? It really doesn't seem like it. Those words really don't sound like something someone like you would say. After all this time, it turns out that I misheard. I'm sorry, brother. I've wronged brother. He pointed to his own head. Once I'm drunk, I don't think clearly. What nonsense are you spouting? It's all right. No matter. Grandpa Tai nodded repeatedly. He expressed that he didn't mind. He really didn't mind. The two bowed to each other and prepared to return to their rooms to sleep. I'll send you off. Let me send you off. They weren't done yet. The two experts who couldn't bear it any longer pulled each of them up the stairs. Grandpa Tai was still struggling as he shouted, Big brother Tan. You're not allowed to sneak away tomorrow. I'll definitely follow you. Tan Tan had already started to snore. After much difficulty, the two super talents were finally thrown into their respective rooms. The two senior experts of the demon race were speechless. They could only weep. What should we do? What should we do now? You ask me. Who should I ask? How would I know what to do now? To be honest, he had lived for tens of thousands of years, but this feeling of helplessness that made him want to cry but have no tears to shed had never appeared before. But this time, he had experienced it, hundreds of times within a few days. Hundreds of times. What do you think is the origin of that person? Uncle who became cautious. Why are you still pretending at this time? You don't think that I can't sense it, right? Uncle Ma sighed, because of this, we can't leave. We have to watch. You're right. I vaguely feel a faint devil energy from his body. It's faint, but it feels exceptionally real. Uncle, who nodded affirmatively. I also have this feeling. But this strange and real devil energy is definitely not the energy of the extraterrestrial devil, Uncle Ma concluded. Yes. His appearance also seems a little magical. He looks 30% like a human and 70% like a ghost. It's more than magical. Moreover, this guy actually has a senior martial brother here. It's said that this senior martial brother is even worse than him. I don't know what he's up to. He must have a major conspiracy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have deliberately approached Titan. Moreover, he would always target Titan's weak points. If he hadn't put in a lot of effort in advance, he wouldn't have done this. That's right. After putting in so much effort, who would believe that he doesn't have a conspiracy? Immediately report this matter to the Demon Empress. All right. But don't be too rigid. Leave some leeway. I think Titan really cherishes this person. Leave some leeway in everything so that we can meet again in the future. That's reasonable. Let's wait and see for now. I believe that no matter what happens, it won't be to the point where we, the two saints, can't handle it. That's natural. However, Titan's idea of roaming the martial world must be dispelled. There are too many variables. That's right. However, the final decision still needs to be made by the Demon Empress. Sigh. Once this matter is spread, I reckon we'll be skinned alive by the Demon Empress. This is something that can't be avoided. Who asked us to have such a duke? The communication jade flickered, and the news here was sent back. Looking at Titan, who was sleeping soundly on the bed and reeking of alcohol, the two of them were speechless. At this moment, they were already in tears. The news on the other side was quickly sent back. The communication jade flashed, and a few words appeared. It was the work of the Demon Empress. This is a good opportunity. Let him suffer a little, and he will know the hardships of the world. It's fine as long as we control the scale. The two of them were dumbfounded. What the hell? What kind of mother is this? They thought that the Demon Empress had received such shocking news. She would definitely let her son go back immediately. How did it become, it's good for him to suffer a little? The problem is, if Titan really suffers a loss, what should we do? How should we control the scale? How can we control it so accurately, especially when we're roaming the martial world with such a weirdo, in the Empress Palace? The Demon Empress sighed helplessly. 2 fingers rubbed the space between her eyebrows, and she muttered, then I'll have to take over Demon Emperor Heaven in the future. If I don't go through some training, how can I do it? But, Chu Yang calmly looked at the destroyed houses not far away from him. His heart was so angry that it felt as if it was about to explode. For the sake of stability, all of them lived separately. Those who lived here. They were Chu Yang's 2 subordinates. But the situation now was very obvious. They must have been discovered by Mo Yuntian's pursuers. After a battle, they died. 2 people died. They didn't say the whereabouts of their other companions. This result made Chu Yang even more furious. Chu Yang was sure. His disguising skills were unparalleled in the world. After he changed his appearance, it was very difficult for others to recognize his true appearance. But this wasn't absolute. It was like saying that no matter how he disguised himself, he couldn't hide from those few people: Mo Qingwu, Tai Butian, Wu Qianqian, Tan Tan, Meng Chaoran, and others. Those were his closest relatives who were so familiar with him that he couldn't be more familiar with them. Perhaps as long as their eyes met slightly, no matter how he disguised himself, it would be futile. If his disguising skills weren't seen through, but he was still discovered by the enemy and died, then it meant one thing, a very serious thing. The people who came with Mo Yuntian and the others this time must be familiar with these people, and they must be very familiar with them. Or their senior and junior brothers. Or their masters and uncles. Only these people who were extremely close to them, could see through Chu Yang's disguising skills and see through their true appearances. But now, these people whom they regarded as extremely close to were the biggest accomplices in harming their lives. If this inference is true, then people from Mo Yuntian and the other 2 super sects have already arrived at Lone Bamboo City. Chu Yang had such an understanding in his heart. I just don't know if these sects have any connections with Mo Yuntian's army. Have they joined forces? Whether or not they have, things are developing in a tricky direction. Then his body dissipated like smoke and quickly left the scene. The people from the sects are already here. Everyone, think about what we should do. Bai Yuchen's face was a little pale. In the sect he originally belonged to, Bai Yuchen's status was extremely high, and he was already the number 3 figure. This time, he was the leader who led the disciples to explore the ruins. However, he never thought that when he met his former fellow disciples again, they would actually become enemies. The other people's faces were also pale. Of course, they were sincerely convinced by Chu Yang and treated him with sincerity. However, what about the sects that had nurtured them in the past? What should they do? If there was some hesitation before, there was no more now. The reason was simple. Once they arrived, they found the other 2 people and killed them without hesitation. This was already a kind of attitude, a kind of declaration. They and their former sect were already irreconcilable, and their standpoints were clear. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.